Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks for being here with me. I'm going to get right back into it. Last week I was telling you about a beautiful, incredible book that I've been reading called The Interior Castle by Saint Teresa of Avila. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I'll just share really quickly that Saint Teresa talks about this interior castle, which is within your heart, within your soul, and that is where God resides. But she also talks about this castle being like a journey inward of your spiritual walk with God. I think that's why I'm loving the book so much, is it's just a very unique perspective. You look at like a well-established religious figure or spiritual person, like what is it that you're observing about them that's really alluding to them being spiritual? Since I was little, I've always thought that it was when you reached a certain calling in the church, or once you mastered a certain amount of scriptures, or once you were able to accomplish like a church mission, that these were the exterior and external validations and criteria of being a very prominent religious person. And as I kind of left that whole walk with God and kind of did my own thing for a couple years and have gone on this beautiful journey, literally inwards without even knowing it. I talked a little bit last week about there being these 7 different rooms, but I didn't really talk about what the rooms were or how to like connect with God inside. Last week we did a meditation on what your own castle looks like, but each of these different rooms holds different levels of connection to God. And what I love is, as I was reading it, I was trying to find like the key of like, okay, so how do you get to the 7th room? Because obviously that's like going to be the cornerstone of the book, is like attaining God at the 7th room. But I was surprised to find out that that's not what the book is about. Saint Teresa suggests that we can meet Jesus in any of the 7 rooms. We just simply begin where we are right now in this very moment, and we continue to go deeper and deeper inward. I guess another myth or thought that, I'm kind of debunking as I grow up is just that like there's not this like staircase to God. Like I think it feels that way. It feels like you're almost on this elevator, and sometimes you're going down a level, or maybe it's like a video game and you feel like you're failing and you have to restart your level. And you're either close to God or you're far away from God. And like it becomes very easy for people to be very subjective and opinionated of other people's life and like say, oh, well, they're just not close to God. Or if I was in their shoes, I wouldn't do it that way. Or, oh, I hope that they really turn their life around. There's all of this like judgment. And the beauty of this book is it really takes into account like the process of life. And it doesn't rush you through this book. It's almost kind of hard to read because it's like so detailed. And it really truly takes a lifetime to attain these 7 rooms. And so I think that takes some of the pressure away from just wanting to be at that 7th room immediately and just be done with it and be perfectly sitting with Jesus in this light. I really love the thought of thinking like maybe our life is more so like a landscape. Like at times there will be the rainy storms, and at times there will be beautiful sunshine, and at times there will be really thick fog. And it's just a part of growing that beautiful landscape, right? Like the mountains that develop, the rivers and streams that develop, the flowers that bloom. That beautiful landscape takes a lifetime, if not many lifetimes, to develop. And you wouldn't just look at a landscape and just like hope that it all appears perfectly pristine tomorrow. You would expect that there would be these different storms and different weather conditions. So with that same train of thought, like Saint Teresa talks about how sometimes we are wandering our own courtyard of our castle, but like we've never left our castle. And so, I mean, that's why I really resonate with this book. She never suggests that like you're just like off on your own planet and you can never get back. Do we know what room we're in? Maybe not. Do we wander outside? Maybe. But she says no matter where we are at within the castle, we are always inside. And so that's just a beautiful reminder that like Jesus is always within us, and we have never done anything that will be too far for Jesus to be able to reach us. So let's talk about the 7 different rooms. The first room is awakening. This is where you are open to the concept or the idea, maybe there is a God. Maybe there is something deeper to life than, the distractions, the chaos, the noise, just like day-to-day routine. That's the first room. The second room is struggle. This is where we want God, but we're still feeling very pulled to fully commit or to fully give up our control of our own lives. The third room is discipline, and that is where you're kind of past that second point. And so you're really starting to practice your prayer life, your scripture study, practicing humility and kindness and love. The fourth room is quiet prayer. And that is where you are going a little bit deeper within your prayer life, and you're starting to really feel the impact of, cultivating that scripture, that prayer, that kindness, that love into your day-to-day life. And now you're really starting to maybe hear whispers from God, or the impact that God has when you bring him into your day versus when you don't. The fifth room is transformation. Now that is where you are starting to let go of what your will is, what you want for your life, and you really start submitting to what God's will is for you. You care less about status and approval, and you just care more so about being and emulating love. The sixth room is called purification, and this is where your faith really gets tested. This is where you really begin to get that spiritual depth. That's where you might go through your spell of spiritual dryness. This is where misunderstandings and suffering and trials really come into play. And the seventh room is union. And that is just the peaceful awareness that God's presence is the only thing that truly matters in this life. So something that I've been thinking about this week. Now, this is not from the book, but this is just something that I've been thinking about. I'm a really big symbolic person. I've always somehow just heard stories, heard dreams, read scripture, and been able to interpret it through symbols. Imagine if we were all in the same castle. And imagine if there was a way in life in which we don't have to slam doors, lock doors shut, set these super heavy boundaries with people, block, cut people out, and imagine that there's a different way where we could just say, I see you. I see that you're in that room. I'm in this room. And the door is going to be open. You're more than welcome to come through this door, through this entrance, and step into my room. But to do so, it may be a little bit challenging. It may require more attention. It may require more submission to God, and it may require less ego. It might not be as comfortable. Maybe in some of the rooms, there's more comfortability with maybe beds or couches or TV or distraction or noise. And maybe the other rooms have less and less furniture. Maybe it requires more of a posture of standing. It forces you to be in a more contemplative, meditative state. And maybe that feels really uncomfortable. Each room kind of draws you closer and closer to becoming more like God. And through that process, maybe people don't want to come through those rooms. And so I just thought, that's a really beautiful concept. What if you're just not seeing eye to eye with a friend, right? And this isn't to say we should put people in rooms and consider us over them and better than them. I'm not saying that. But if you were to just visibly think about a castle, and maybe they're in a room that's not where you are, and you're trying to hear them, but you can't hear them. How beautiful to just say, you know what, there's just a wall between us. I can hear them, but their voice is a little bit more faint because we're not in the same room together. Either I can get up and go into that room to hear them, or they can get up and come to my room and come and hear me. But I don't need to shut this door. I don't need to close them out. Maybe the goal isn't to slam doors shut and lock people out of our lives. Maybe it's literally just opening the door for more connection and just remembering that we're all still inside the same house. Okay, so another person from the similar time period of Saint Teresa is a man called John of the Cross. And he is the one who actually coined the concept, the dark night of the soul. And a lot of people, current day, spiritualists, will often talk about I'm in my period of the dark night, or my dark night of the soul. And what that tends to mean, current state, is I'm in a really dark, nasty period of my life, but I know that there's a rebirth coming. I know that there's going to be a transformation, and I know I'm going to be better on the opposite side of where I'm at right now. So that actually stems back to 500 years ago. He really believes a similar thing, that when we're given these seasons of spiritual confusion or spiritual dryness, those are actually some of the most sacred, beautiful times where God has not left us, but that is about to refine our lives. So both Saint Teresa and John of the Cross can remind us, even in the darkest rooms in the castle, God is still there. So after deeper contemplation of this concept of an interior castle, I was actually shocked to find out that this concept existed prior to even Saint Teresa. And it stems back to 1200 years ago, to early Christians who disappeared into the Egyptian desert, searching for the exact same encounter with God. So next week, I'm going to explore deeper their thoughts around this similar room, and also some of their beautiful teachings around anger and inner stillness and love. So for today, the most important reminder to get you through your week is just to remember that wherever you are within your own castle in your heart, God is already there with you. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you next week. Thank you for being here. Bye. Mwah.